very quick background of this. This is the first Star Trek series for 12 years, and this Star Trek series is by CBS. And they created this series that in order to watch this series in America, you have to officially subscribe to the CBS website so you can watch it on their website. And I think this is where media is going to be going in the future. I think media is going to reclaim their series, and you have to subscribe to the television stations in order to watch the series. So you won't just be able to watch all the shows on Netflix and Hulu and whatnot as you are right now. So apparently when they launched this series, they showed the first episode on CBS properly, and it had the biggest, it created the biggest surge in subscriptions for CBS, which shows that Star Trek still has a pulling power. So anyway, Star Trek Discovery. It's supposed to be set 10 years before the first original Star Trek series from the 60s, which I loved and think is one of the greatest TV series of all time. But my brothers aren't necessarily Trekkies. You're not a Trekkie, Adam, no?
No.
Alex, Trekkie?
No.
Hugo, Trekkie?
Star Wars fan?
No. Hugo, Trekkie?
No.
Star Wars.
You know what? I realise that me and my brothers have got nothing in common, and I'm very disappointed by how disappointing my brothers are. I'm learning this through the podcast experience.
Can I start, right?
Yes.
Right, so I've never been
You can start.
I've never been a big Star Trek fan, you know.
You've never watched Star Trek. I don't think you've given it a go.
Shown me like the old film Through the Days and like showed me a few episodes. I've seen the recent movies and everything.
No, the recent movies don't count.
I like them. They're good.
They are good, but they don't count.
Stephen, you've told me so much about the originals that I really want to get
now,
to.
However, I am a massive science fiction fan. I love science fiction. It's one of my favourite genres. How
can you say that and not be a Trekkie?
Well,
Fake
what I'm
fan.
about to say is that I watched it and I thought it was just absolutely by the numbers dull sci-fi.
More like what a Trek.
Well, I concur with that. I thought what it lacked any characters. It lacked any humor, like any sort of like levity. It really was begging for the touch of levity. Although,
it did hold on, I will agree with that. It did certainly lack humor, and what Star Trek has always had is it always has had humor. You know, between Kirk, McCoy, and Spock, they used to always have great humor between them. There's always been that level of levity.
Good sci-fi is always like a mirror image of what the future could be right now, from like a philosophical and from a technical point of view. That is what supposedly the old Star Trek series did so well, and that's what new things did so well. Like films like, I don't know, Blade Runner 2049 is a great like contemporary science fiction piece, and science fiction is not interesting unless you have those elements of social commentary, or like.
Did you not think it was that if there was anything this Star Trek was guilty of was too much social commentary, Alex? Did you miss it?
No, it just wasn't. It wasn't done in any way that was interesting or unique or clever, or it was just like, I could have been watching anything. It was not memorable. As in, if that was the first ever episode of Star Trek ever, it would never get renewed for a second episode.
I liked Michelle Yeoh cast as.
Yes, Michelle Yeoh is in the new Star Trek. She was the Bond girl.
She's the Bond girl, and she was also in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yes.
And I thought that she made a very. I'm sure she's in plenty of films, but they're the two films I know her from. And I thought that she's a pretty good, badass, believable captain of the Starship Enterprise. I thought that was pretty good. I also really liked the opening credits.
The opening credits were very cool. James Bond-esque.
Yeah.
And you know what I liked about the opening credits? The way they had the vote. They kind of had a 3D rendering of the classic Star Trek voice.
I forget what it was called. Yeah.
And Adam said those are all the classic gadgets,
which actually featured in the first scene of the film or of the episode.
Production value is really good. Great special effects for a TV show. On par with some movies. I thought that was really impressive. And the monsters in the beginning of the show crawling around the desert, they were really impressive. The two main characters, the two women, you can really see where conflict was going to be in the future. Michael, as you call her, she was a bit reckless, and Michelle Yeoh's character, she was more
measured
and by the books, and you can see where conflict's going to arise. Like, it feels like a mid-season episode. You know what I mean?
I
it doesn't feel like a pilot.
I actually agree. It jumps right into the mission and jumps right into the action without giving enough exposition.
Yeah, and I think there should be more exposition. Yeah. And I know they're like, oh, this is for Star Trek fans, I'd assume.
While I didn't enjoy that episode at all, and I will not be rushing back to watch the second episode, I don't necessarily think a TV show needs to establish its lore in the first episode.
No, but it needs to go. It needs to go. Here's the. Well, I mean, I guess it did go.
No, it does. Like it doesn't. Like that's the point of like a season of television is like as you go, continue watching it, the more you learn and the more.
I know, but it needs to at least go. Here's the main character, and like it needs to give you a reason to emotionally hook onto that person. No, I guess it did. It did in a sort of crappy way. Like talk about number one or Michael's. She was clearly raised by Vulcans or whatever,
and her parents were killed.
Her parents were killed
by Klingons.
I think actually.
Okay, so just to interject, as the episode goes, it's trying to show you how the war between the Klingons and the Enterprise started, and as she says later on in the episode, Michelle Yeoh's character, sometimes you need to start a war to prevent a war. So that was very telling. That's kind of like what's going on in the world. And always what's going on in the world. USA is always starting a war to prevent wars. The show was immediately more serious than any of the other Star Trek series from the beginning. Yeah, it would have been nice to have a bit more brevity in it. Personally, I found the characters and the acting to be kind of
crammy.
Find it grating, and I found the dialogue to be kind of grating. However, it is a first episode of a TV series, and first episode of TV series are often a bit clunky because everyone's trying to find their feet. And as the episode got on, especially in the last quarter, I could see where it was going. And the episode ends essentially with there about to be a ginormous battle between the Enterprise, or between the Star Trek Federation and the Klingons. So I think that was a good setup going into the second episode. Reviewing this, let's do out of 5. Adam, out of 5.
2.
2. Alex.
3.
Oh, Alex, you gave it the worst review, and you've given it
but I think 2 is a bit. 2 is very hard.
3 is good.
3 is good. 2.
Yeah.
2.5.
I would give Star Trek Discovery 2.5 out of 5. But I would watch another episode.